Good morning, beautiful. Welcome back for part 2, where we're going to look at the performance of the Tamron 70-200 f2.8 G2 adapted to the Nikon Z6. Larry here with Southern Exposure, information and inspiration for the amateur photographer. In part 1, we did an unboxing of the Tamron 70-200 G2 lens, and we did a firmware update to it. You can check that video out here. Today, I want to talk specifically about the 70-200 and how it performed. The 70-200 is good for portraits, it's good for shooting events, and it's even good for shooting wildlife in some situations. Now, I've had a chance to take some pictures with this Tamron 70-200. Again, this is the G2 version. And just a quick rundown of some of the pros and cons of this lens that I've found so far. The pros, of course, are build quality. The build quality on this lens is excellent. I mean, you know that you're dealing with a serious lens as soon as you pick this thing up. It has wonderful sharpness. The pictures are incredibly sharp. It has great bokeh for portraits. If you're into that kind of thing, you know, that shallow depth of field, you get the blurry background. And of course, the price is an excellent pro for this lens. This lens comes in at around $1,200 in the US, which is about half what the first party lens costs. So this is quite a value for what you get. Some of the cons, I really didn't find that many, honestly, but you know, one thing that could be considered a downfall for this lens is the weight. It is rather heavy, and when you're attaching it to a mirrorless camera like the Nikon Z6 that I use, it makes your setup really front heavy, makes it a little bit difficult to balance, but it's really not out of line for a 70-200. It's pretty much in the range of what you would expect one of those lenses to weigh. Another con is the fact that to adapt this to the Nikon Z series camera, I had to get the tap-in console and do a firmware update to it before I could use it with the autofocus and the auto exposure. Now, in my previous video, we went through the firmware update process. You also found out that I got the tap-in console with the lens in a package, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. It took about 10 or 15 minutes from start to finish to get the thing updated. But it's just really nice when you buy something like this if you can just use it straight out of the box. So I guess I'll include that as a con for this lens. But if those are the only things that I can come up with that I don't like about the lens, then I consider this a successful purchase, and I'm very happy that I bought this. By the way, I do want to include the same disclaimer that I did in the first video, and that is that this video is not sponsored or endorsed in any way. Tamron did not send this lens to me. I did not get this lens for free, and I'm still within the 30-day return policy for Amazon, so there's really no motivation for me to give this thing a great review unless I'm really happy with it. So let's go ahead and fire up Lightroom and take a look at some of the first shots that I took with it. Okay, so I've got a handful of shots here opened up in Lightroom. Now, these are just some quick test shots that I did here around my house. This first one here, there is a specific reason that I've included this one in particular. My wife's gonna kill me because you can see the cobwebs and dust up here in the deer's antlers, but hopefully she won't watch this video, right? But anyways, the reason I wanted to show this is to show how sharp this image is. And this is zoomed in 100% crop right here. I was focused on the eye. You can see the eyelashes, everything around. You can see the dust and stuff, but just ignore that. But what I wanted to point out about this particular shot and why I was so impressed with it and the sharpness is if you look over here, this was at f2.8. This is with the lens opened all the way up, zoomed in at 200 millimeters. But look over here. I shot this at 1/10 of a second. I was zoomed into 200 millimeters, handheld, and took this shot at 1/10 of a second. And this wasn't a fluke. I was able to reproduce these results hand-holding at those kind of speeds. This is because of the combination of the vibration reduction in the lens and the in-body image stabilization of the Nikon Z6. Now, there's 3 different modes of stabilization on this lens. The VC switch has 3 positions. There's a separate switch to turn vibration control on or off. When you turn it on, there's 3 different modes. In mode 1, The vibration control is on all the time. So anytime you're looking through the viewfinder, you're seeing the effects of the vibration control from the lens. It also, of course, is in effect when you take the shot. Mode 2 is what's commonly referred to as sport mode or panning mode. And what that's for is it's designed to stabilize the lens specifically when you're panning left and right. So it will stabilize up and down movements, but it will allow it to pan left and right smoothly. The third mode is what allowed me to capture this kind of a shot at 1/10 of a second. In the third mode, the vibration compensation is off when you're just looking through the viewfinder, and it only kicks in when you press the shutter button. I'm not sure why this makes a difference in the accuracy and the quality of the vibration reduction, but it absolutely does. And if you're in a situation that's maybe a low light situation and you really need to crank down your shutter speed and you're relying on the vibration compensation to save your shot for you, definitely use mode 3. And again, you can see here from the results, 1/10 of a second, handheld at 200 millimeters. All four of these shots that I have right here were shot wide open at f2.8. But this one, again, the clarity and the sharpness on the focus point is just incredible. You can see every little fold in the flowers. You can see in the head of the flower the texture that's in there. And that is without using the new texture slider in Lightroom. This image has not been processed. This is straight out of camera. So you can see the sharpness, and you can also see the quality of the bokeh up here in the upper right corner. That's the area that was farthest away from the camera. The other thing that's really nice about this lens is that it has a smooth fall off between what's in focus and what's out of focus. Let's move on to the next shot. Again, you can see the quality of the bokeh back here. You can see the nice smooth fall off. We've got a high contrast area here with the white petals of the flower and the out of focus darker colored background. I don't really see any chromatic aberration here at all. And again, you know, very sharp, a very sharp image, nice color reproduction. Just a beautiful shot from this lens. And then the last one that I have here, we've got some more of these yellow flowers. Again, shot at f2.8, 1/500th of a second, and this is at ISO 320. Again, this is straight out of the camera. No editing has been done to this image. You can see the sharpness for yourself. You look at that and decide for yourself whether that's good enough. I think it is. In fact, I would go so far as to say that this lens is absolutely pushing the limits of the 24 megapixel sensor in the Z6. You definitely would have to go up to a 40 or 45 megapixel sensor to begin to see maybe the limits of this lens. I'm definitely pleased with the results of this in terms of sharpness. Color reproduction is very accurate, and again, we've got that nice fall off to the soft background. I do have some other images that I'm going to take, and we'll come in and take a look at some of those as well. Alright, we're back. I've shot a few more pictures with this Tamron 70-200, and I'd like to share some of the results with you. This was just a test that I was doing to see what the corner sharpness looked like on the lens. So this is just me pointing the lens directly at the concrete patio. This is 70 millimeters at f4, and there is some softness in the corner. It seems to be more prevalent on the left side than on the right. This lower left corner in particular is a little soft. This is 200 millimeters at f4, and again we've got the softness in particularly the lower left corner. When we move into the center of the frame, you can see it's very clear in the center. This is 200 millimeters at f2.8. Again, we have the softness in the corners, particularly on the left side. This is 70 millimeters at f2.8. 70mm at f8, and as you can see, by the time we get to f8, the corner softness has all but disappeared. It's still there, but it's barely noticeable, and again, super sharp in the center of the frame. And let's go ahead and take a look at this last one. This is 200mm at f8, and we do have a little more softness at 200mm than we had at 70, but I think this is pretty good performance for a third-party lens, and I'm pretty pleased with it, especially with the sharpness in the center. Now let's move on to some other pictures. And I'd like to take a minute to thank my lovely wife who agreed to model for me. She actually is a former model, so bonus for me, right? I get to take pictures of someone who actually knows what they're doing. Let's take a look at some of the results. These are not retouched. These are straight out of camera. Just wanted you to see the clarity and the quality of the bokeh. You can see the eyes are clear, eyelashes, eyebrows, everything is clear. This is at f4 at 200mm. We've got, this one is f2.8 at 200mm. And again, you can see the clarity, the sharpness is very good, the color reproduction is very good, and of course that blown out background in the necklace, you can see the detail there. Very nice shot from the lens. f2.8, 200mm, very sharp, very clear, nice blown out background. Here's one that I did process. I did edit this picture. This is not straight out of camera. I just wanted to see what I could do with one with a quick edit, and I really like the way this turned out. This is probably my favorite shot from the little mini photo shoot that we did. I also did a little experiment with the lens. I wanted to compare the sharpness of the 70-200 from Tamron versus the sharpness of the 24-70 f4 that I got with the Nikon Z6. So first let's take a look at the shot taken with the 24-70 f4, and I shot both of these at f4 at 70mm to get a close comparison of the two. Now this is the one with the 24-70. We're at ISO 100, 70mm f4. This is a pretty decent looking shot as far as clarity goes. You know, the eyes look nice, the eyelashes, everything's pretty well defined. But when we take a look at the same shot, this is with the 70-200, 70mm f4, and you can really see a difference in the clarity here. Now, I was pleased with the first shot, and I'm just blown away with this one. I'm gonna kind of go back and forth between the two here, and you can see the difference in the clarity. That's the 24-70, and that's the 70-200. Alright, so what's the final word on this Tamron 70-200 G2? Is it a buy or fly? Am I going to keep it, or am I going to ship it back to Amazon? Well, I'll tell you what, personally, I'm definitely keeping this lens. I'm not sending this puppy back. I'm really pleased with it, and for the money, I don't think you can beat it. So I'm definitely going to keep this lens. I've only had it for a couple of days, and I think it's already become my favorite lens. I love this thing, so I'm very pleased with it. I definitely recommend it if you're in the market for a 70-200. If you have one, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your results were. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Then go out, take pictures, and have fun doing it. Thanks.